Now at 6 and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, a suspect accused of stabbing a woman in Bay City is now in custody.
The search for a missing 11-year-old girl, Audrey Cunningham, continues. There's a suspect now in custody.
And the 7-year-old Lakewood shooting victim continues fighting for their life after the incident at Joel Osteen's church in Houston.
Well, you probably enjoyed the brilliant sunshine that we had today. Temperatures, of course, are getting warmer than what we had over the weekend, but you're not going to believe we're going to be in the 80s. So spring looks like it's already sprung. We'll have all your weather details coming up.
And something brewing over at the Bloom. Here from the Bobcats coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 6. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia.
Bay City police took into custody a suspect in a stabbing. 19-year-old Javen Lipkins of Bay City was arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and evading arrest and detention. He is a suspect in the stabbing of a 24-year-old woman in the 2900 block of B in Bay City. Authorities also say Lipkins had an outstanding active felony warrant out of Fort Bend County for robbery and bond forfeiture. Bay City police want information on this man. 22-year-old Joel Lopez of Bay City is wanted for his reported involvement in a recent shooting in Bay City. When arrested, Lopez faces a charge of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Authorities say this suspect should be considered armed and dangerous. Contact local law enforcement if you know the whereabouts of Lopez.
On February 7th, Wharton police arrested Waynard Austin on 7 felony warrants. Shortly after, Austin escaped from custody in handcuffs. Austin remains at large, last seen wearing a black hoodie, blue jeans, and white shoes. If you see him, contact 911. Wharton police say Austin is not a threat to public safety.
Texas has awarded $125 million in grants to rural sheriffs and prosecutors across the state. The Texas Tribune reports it's an effort to help those law enforcement agencies attract and keep talent in their communities. The pool of money was established by state lawmakers last year in Senate Bill 22, which passed with bipartisan support. Only counties with a population smaller than 300,000 were eligible for the grant. That's every county in the Crossroads.
A reminder, tomorrow we'll have incumbent Congressman Michael Cloud of District 27. 3 other people are on the Republican primary ballot, including Chris Mapp, Scott Mandel, and Luis Espindola. Congressman Cloud previously served on the Texas State Executive Republican Committee and was chairman of the Victoria County Republican Party. During his time in office, he's worked to improve issues at the border. And early voting in the primary election starts tomorrow. You can vote from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. all days except Sunday, February 25th, when the polls open at 9 a.m. and close at 3 p.m. Early voting ends March 1st, and you can of course vote at the Dr. Patty Dotson Public Health Center, 2805 North Navarro. So here is your viewer poll this evening. You can scan that QR code on your screen to vote. The question is, how do you intend to participate in the March 5th primary election? Is it through voting early, voting on election day, or not planning to vote? According to our results, it looks like 72% takes the win for early voting. Thank you for voting. Come to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part. And we're going to have an update on 25 News Now at 10.
The new mayor of Victoria will be sworn in at the start of the city council meeting tomorrow afternoon. Dwayne Crocker was elected mayor on February 3rd. Crocker won the election with 61.4% of the vote. Jeff Bucknight will continue to serve as mayor until Crocker is sworn in. The city council canvassed the votes last Tuesday.
There will be just one election for Victoria City Council on May 4th. The election will be for the District 3 seat between April Butler and Woodrow Wilson Wagner II. Only one candidate filed for each of the other 3 district seats. The election for those other 3 districts were canceled. Rafael Ricky de la Garza III is reelected in District 1. Jan Scott is reelected in District 4, and Stephen Kidder is elected in District 2.
Speaking of city councils, 4 challengers joined 2 incumbents in the city of El Campo's May at-large council race, and one of them will become the city's next mayor. The El Campo Leader News reports John Beals, Cody Gines, Francis Romer and Kyle Wallace have filed for election. They will face incumbents Eugene Bustamante, the mayor pro tem, and Blake Barger. Mayor Chris Barbie has announced his intention to retire. The top vote getter in the city council election will become mayor. An earthquake hit Karnes County Monday morning. The U.S. Geological Survey tells KSAT a 3.3 magnitude earthquake shook Falls City right before 11 a.m. Falls City is 40 miles southeast of downtown San Antonio. No damage or injuries are reported. The quake was the second in 3 days reported in the area. A 4.7 magnitude earthquake was reported on Saturday morning, the strongest and latest of several earthquakes this month. Over the past 7 days, 19 earthquakes have been reported in the Falls City area.
And with that, let's take a look at your forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez.
Well, thank you very much. We certainly cleared up very nicely. Had a beautiful Sunday. Monday was spectacular. While we're under high pressure, that's going to give us some very nice and some relatively warm weather. You'll be up into the 80s by this week. Meanwhile, on the West Coast, another one of those Pacific monster storms is coming ashore. The tail end of this will affect us by the time we get to the end of next week. We'll talk about that and everything else coming up in just a moment.
Authorities today continue to search for Audrey Cunningham, an 11-year-old girl who went missing last week in Livingston, Texas. Audrey was last seen around 7 a.m. Thursday before she was supposed to catch the bus to school, but she did not get on that bus. She was then reported missing when she didn't return from school, leading the Polk County Sheriff's Office to issue the Amber Alert.
Yes, I am hoping that she yet is still alive, and we're going to work just as hard to make sure that we do everything that we can to try to bring her home.
Investigators named 42-year-old Don McDougal as one of the persons of interest in Audrey's disappearance Saturday. McDougal is now charged with aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, which they said was unrelated to Audrey's disappearance. He was previously convicted of enticing a minor in 2007.
A Texas STEM student was shot by police after bringing a firearm to school. Mesquite police say they responded to an active shooter call Monday morning at Pioneer Technology and Arts Academy, which is a charter school. They say when they arrived, they attempted to negotiate with the student, but during the negotiation, an officer-involved shooting occurred. No other students or officers were injured, and the suspect was transported to a local hospital. First responders say they are grateful the incident was not much worse.
We are grateful for the fact that no children were injured in this incident. Also, none of our officers sustained any injury in this incident.
The charter school serves students from 5th grade through high school, but neither police nor school officials confirmed the age of the suspect.
The son of the Lakewood Church shooter has spent this past week overcoming a bullet wound to his head. KTRK reports the 7-year-old boy endured trauma and abuse well before last Sunday's service. Court filings show Janice Moreno's son entered the world with drugs already in his blood. The filings also show the boy was given a gun by his mother when he was 3 years old. First responders often carry an emotional weight from their experiences on the job. The Victoria 100 Club exists to help ease those heavy burdens. The 100 Club is dedicated to helping families of first responders who have lost a loved one in the line of duty. The Victoria 100 Club annual banquet is the club's primary social event and fundraiser. Guest speaker Judge Jack Marr will speak on the weight of the badge.
But they're carrying a big emotional burden that isn't really evident and obvious to everybody, and he's going to tell us more about that.
Interested in joining the Victoria 100 Club? The cost is $100 a year. This year's banquet is set for Thursday, March 21st at the Victoria Country Club at 6 p.m. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell so you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. Stay with us. Senator Schumer wants Congress to pass the $95 billion funding bill for Ukraine. Coming up on 25 News Now at 6, the bill's impact on that country and its war with Russia.
Also ahead, the latest strikes in Rafah received pushback from world leaders.
Smoke was seen from Rafah's tented camp for displaced Palestinians. This coming as the European Union warned Israel against launching an offensive operation in the city. After nearly 5 months of fighting, Israel is preparing to launch a ground invasion of that area's southernmost city in search of Hamas. However, ministers say the offensive would create a disaster for nearly 1.5 million refugees crammed into the city on the southern edge of Gaza. Gaza Health Ministry officials said at least 29,000 Palestinians are dead and more than 69,000 have been injured in Israeli strikes since October 7th. Ukraine is running low on weapons as it defends its country from the Russian invasion. One reason for the lack of supplies, Congress's inability to pass an aid package.
And this comes as Putin recently overtook a key city in Ukraine.
President Joe Biden says the U.S. can't turn its back on Ukraine and its war against Russia.
And the idea that now, they're running out of ammunition, we walk away, I find it absurd. I find it unethical.
The Senate passed a $95 billion foreign aid bill last week, with $60 billion earmarked for Ukraine.
We are counting on this positive decision of the Congress. For us, this package is vital.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer released a statement Sunday demanding that House Speaker Mike Johnson and House Republicans pass the funding bill following the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny.
We must show Putin that he must pay a price for the death of Navalny. And the best price the U.S. can make Putin pay is to give Ukraine the help they need to fend off Putin's evil aggressions.
Johnson and others in the GOP have issues with the bill, saying it lacks provisions for migrants trying to enter the U.S.
The number one national security issue facing America today is our insecure, unsafe, and wide open southern border.
Schumer posting on social media, the bill is, quote, sitting on Speaker Johnson's desk while Putin waits to see if the U.S. will act. I'm John Lawrence reporting.
Another atmospheric river is bearing down on California with heavy rain, prompting landslides, flooding, and other weather-related impacts. Heavy rain and damaging winds is expected to continue throughout the day, with rainfall expected to reach up to 6 inches in some parts of the state. Emergency crews now urging people living in low-lying areas to start preparing now.
We'll be talking more about that West Coast problem again. For us, we've got no problems at all. Beautiful sunshine. Right about now, we're at 64 degrees. We managed to get up to only 68 today, but tomorrow we'll be in the 70s. And then, yeah, you're going to see some 80-degree temperatures. Also, we're not going to be that cold for the next couple of nights. All that's changing. You might say that spring has made an early arrival. We'll talk more about your weather coming up right after this. Welcome back, everybody. I'm sure you enjoyed that Sunday weather. A little cold in the morning, but Monday was spectacular. Today getting up to about 68 degrees. Next couple of days, well, with high pressure on top of us, and you know high pressure sinks the air. It makes it very clear, very sunny, but it also warms the atmosphere. We are looking at temperatures well into the 70s, almost 80 degrees this week. Now, while we're having a great time, they're not having a great time in California. This is another one of those monstrous Pacific Coast storms with humongous rain, humongous snow, humongous surf up and down. Of course, the ground's still saturated from the last one. It's a problem. Now, I'm showing you this because eventually the storm moves ashore, but the tail end of it will be affecting us later this week. However, it's going to be hardly a memory of what it is right now. Southerly winds, of course, also help to warm us up. You'll feel a little bit of moisture in the atmosphere. As a matter of fact, we may have some fog by tomorrow morning now that all this Gulf air is rolling back into the region. And I wanted you to know about this because it's an important topic. I think you're going to be hearing a lot about it in the future. AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Current. What is that? Well, as you know, the oceans have currents. They go up and down, and the one in the Atlantic serves to take heat from the tropics north. That's why England has a relatively moderate temperature. And then it brings the cool air down into the equator to sort of cool things down. Well, there was a big report that came out last week. Today they're following up on it, and the current is slowing down, and they're now predicting that it may stop. Now, how could that stop? How could it? The Earth is moving on. Well, it's stopping because so much fresh water is falling into it from the melting ice that the temperature is now being changed all over the North Atlantic. So, you know, all I can tell you is that I want you to know about it. If you hear about it, then you know what it is. Now, for us, things are looking pretty good. 74 tomorrow, then 78, then 80 degrees on Thursday. Not bad at all. Are you ready for spring? I hope you are, because I think it's here. I don't see any cold weather in the next 2 weeks. And so we're looking for overnight lows tonight getting down into the 50s. And then tomorrow we'll get up into the mid 70s. Lots of sunshine, beautiful weather. If you've got outdoor work, couldn't ask for better than that. Now, here's the high pressure that's giving us the lovely weather. And here's a monster storm on the west coast. We start on Monday, go forward to Tuesday. It comes ashore. We go into Wednesday, the tail end of it rolls through here, but there's very little moisture out here. And we don't have much either because you saw how it was beautiful out there today. So when it does actually make it through sometime on Friday, it's going to be a dry front, only a wind shift, and it's going to cool the weather down just a little bit. I wouldn't call it cold at all. I'll show you the temperatures. So sunshine, I've changed the name. It's Puerto La Vaca from now on. No, I'm just kidding. Sunny skies all day long in Port Lavaca, getting up to about 73 as a high temperature. In Cuero, pretty much same deal with a high of about 76. Now your 7-day will show you what I'm talking about. Lovely and warmer all the way through Thursday, 80-degree high temperature. Frontal system cools us down maybe 5 or 6 degrees, but we stay on the sunny side and we stay in the upper 70s. So I'm thinking spring is sprung all over us. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that with Crossroads today on your phone. Karina, over to you.
Thanks, Mac. And now here's sports reporter Zach Brown with your sports.
Hear from the Bloomington Bobcat boys as they get ready for the by-district round of the postseason. I'll have that in sports. In boys hoops, something special brewing over at the Bloom, who for the first time in at least 20 years have shares to a district title. And they have a playoff game tomorrow. Two of those seniors proud of how far they have come, but that entire program knows the job is not finished.
It feels amazing. I mean, going from only winning like 2 district games last year to winning like already 20 games overall, like it feels amazing.
We just work hard every day, knowing what our expectation is and how we got to execute it, listening to our coaches and the assistants.
The Bobcats' incredible turnaround from a few wins to tied for first is all in the coaching, the staff making sure the team was held more accountable.
I think the biggest thing that went into this is getting them to understand extreme ownership. Extreme ownership played a really, really big role in what we're doing now, because like a guy can mess up and he'll understand, okay, I did that. I messed up, not my teammate, not my coach, but I did it.
The Bobcats ignored the past and focused on making this season the best they possibly could, and the staff saying the guys realized they could change the narrative surrounding them.
I think that's probably the biggest motivator our kids have, is they're able to set their own future, and they're able to set their own standard as well. Couple times, you know, they kind of don't understand the scope of that, but just drilling into their head more and more that, you know, they are setting the standard of what Bloomington's going to be in the future. I think they're starting to take pride in it and really appreciate the opportunities they have. So it's really great to see. I'm really proud of them.
One of those opportunities they have, a big showdown against Thrall, as the Bobcats hope to bring some hardware to the Bloom. The guys feeling ready and think they just have to stick with what got them here.
Just basically just sticking to our main identity, and that's us being a strong defensive team. We just keep executing the game plan defensively, and we should go deep in the playoffs.
The reason why the guys have had such a great year, they've all bought in and believe in each other and the staff, and the Bloomington community has joined them.
It's a sense of family, and it seems like everybody's known each other for forever. So it's supreme confidence in us as adults and us as coaches and role models. And they go out and they execute what we tell them to execute. I mean, they're kids, of course, they make mistakes. When it comes to these kids and that orange round ball, you see the whole community standing with each other and getting behind each other and supporting these kids. So they brought a whole community together, and that speaks a lot on them as young men. And, you know, us as coaches in this town to get behind each other and see that there's a sense of pride and everybody believes in it. And that's a good thing, and that's what we want.
We have other boys teams getting ready for the bi-district round of the postseason as well. But for the girls, we're already going to the regional quarterfinal round. The Victoria East girls just got revenge on Veterans Memorial Brownsville. Now they get Corpus Christi Veterans Memorial Eagles. Now this was over 2 months ago, but the Lady Titans beat this team 54-36 back on December 5th. The Lady Titans looking to go 4 rounds deep in the postseason. By the way, that game is at Victoria West. The Cuero girls will take on Fredericksburg after their dominant win over the Bay City Black Cats. One common opponent the Cuero girls have with Fredericksburg are the Navarro Panthers. Cuero beat them a few days ago, 45-27. Fredericksburg beat them recently on January 16th in a 49-36 victory. So we could have an evenly matched battle on our hands if those scores indicate anything. The Hallettsville ladies still in the tournament as well. They get the always tough Cole Cougars. Cole actually played Tidehaven and won that game 52-40. When Hallettsville played Tidehaven, they won 75-45. And of course, we can't forget about maybe the most dominant team in the Crossroads this year. That is the Shiner girls. They get Thrall, who knocked out Bloomington in the first round. Shiner going for 25 wins in a row. That's it for your sports. Donna Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Zach. We're going to be back in a moment. NASA wants volunteers for its next simulated 1-year mission at the Johnson Space Center in Houston.
Finally tonight, NASA is looking for its next crop of experimental Martians. NASA wants applicants for its next simulated one-year Mars surface mission. The mission, which gets underway in the spring of 2025, will help inform NASA's plans for human exploration of Mars. They're even telling them that people from Mars move that fast. No, just kidding. A 4-person volunteer crew will live and work inside a 3D printed habitat. See what they were doing with all the brown stuff? That's 3D printing. And it's based at the Johnson Space Center in Houston. The habitat will simulate the challenges of a mission on Mars. The deadline to apply is Tuesday, April 2nd. And oh, by the way, if you are picked, it's a paying gig.
Oh,
yes.
cool.
You can get paid to be in that 3D
And hang out.
place for a whole year.
What the rent is.
Well, the rent is
free. It's
There's
free.
no television. You got to remember.
That's right.
What are you going to do?
No KAVU in that 3D printed.
they
I know,
That's
I know
tough.
that makes it really tough.
That's
Yeah.
tough.
How are they going to get the weather?
So I got to see how much they're paying before I would sign
Before
up
we
for
submit
that.
our
But it's not far
application.
away. Johnson Space Center in Houston. That's kind of
Oh,
interesting.
I thought-
They don't have to worry about the weather in there.
Oh, so that one doesn't take you to the Mars.
No, this is a simulation.
Here on Earth.
There will be television.
Well, we don't know. We don't know.
You got to make it real there, NASA.
Yeah,
You got to make it real. Well, folks, we've got some really nice weather in the next couple of days. We've got abundant sunshine. High pressure is going to give us temperatures in the upper 70s to 80 degrees. You'll be looking for your swimming trunks, and it's only February. How about that? I think spring has sprung, and it is certainly going to feel like it all week long. That frontal system on Friday is not going to bring us any rain, so we're going to stay on the dry side for the next 7.
Thank you, Mac, and thanks for joining us.
We hope to see you back here tonight for 25 News Now at 10.